It's one thing I've really tried to identify in my son. I know a lot of dads who really try to groom the violence in their sons, and I'm like, man, we are inherently violent motherfuckers. Like, making sure you have control of that and only apply it when it's absolutely necessary is a true superpower. If you can do that, and people can recognize that, it's even more intimidating. VA does an annual report on suicide, suicidality across the military and different trends that occurred throughout the year. In their 24 study, they did one specifically on women, and they checked ones who were on hormone therapy and ones who weren't. I can't remember the exact age range, but they found that the women who were receiving hormone therapy had a 54% reduction in suicide rates, and the ones who weren't on it had 88% increase. It's a no-brainer, but it was great to find so much actual scientific research.
That's what it comes down to.
Low fucked up hormones causes depression and suicidality. The easiest one to get back on track is your sex hormones. That's why the TRT, man. And once you get one of those in line, the other ones can start falling in. That's why you're feeling so much better, because everything else, and that's why we push TRT and treating those guys, because it's the easy button.
Matt, bro, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, good morning, man.
We've had quite the year.
We have.
A lot of exciting action this year here at Core Medical Group, the foundation. So I think this is the first podcast that we did alone, right? Or we did a short, like a 30-minute, I think. A lot.
This might be the first one-on-one.
Yeah. So for those of you guys that don't know Matt, he runs my foundation, Colton. And we're going to get a little bit into his story today, because it's super interesting. But first, I want to talk about the event.
Yeah, definitely.
So Colton and I chatted about it yesterday. These podcasts, your podcast and Colton's, are going to go back to back because the event's coming up. So what would you say if you're like a newcomer walking in the door this year, what to expect from that event?
Yeah, I think some of the comments that we get the most from it is people come there. A lot of guys, are retired, been out for a while. And I think the same answer from everyone, what do you miss most, is going to be the Brotherhood. Coming to our event, you feel that Brotherhood 100%. It is palpable in the air, and it means a lot. Guys get recharged. They hit it annually, and they're charged up for the whole year just from doing that.
Yeah, it is kind of great, because I got a phone call the other day. It's like, well, dude, I don't have anyone to go with. I'm like, you don't need to come with anybody, bro.
Right.
Within 10 minutes, you're good. Like, I promise. And, it's great to see, because when we started that event, it was military appreciation event, but it wasn't military like driven. And this will be year 5, right? This is the 5th year.
Yep.
Right around the year prior to that was the first year, like, I really got to kick in the doors with you guys and like really got some respect from the community, and, Core got put on the map. And what was crazy, I was thinking about it last night, dude, is that because I had that year prior, like, there was a lot of people that were really interested in Core. So what really happened was we were there to raise money for veterans and donate it to veterans and trafficking, right?
Yeah.
And who showed up was like 75% military guys. It was with the thousands of patients we had at the time, it was like 75% military guys. I'm like, wow, that's pretty freaking dope. So then, now it's just, went from, we had 86 people the first year, and now there's a waiting list. So it's like, it's been crazy. And I've never thought I would be one to have an event. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're putting on my event this year, But the cool part is it's not my event anymore, Matt. It's yours and Cole's. So what type of changes are we going to make this year?
We started moving in, really pushing last year to get more family oriented, and we're going to do that even further this year. We're really focusing on a lot of that stuff. The family stuff was a big hit. Everyone had a really good time. The kids, lots of activities, so we're going to plus that up. And we're really building in more one-on-one time, more mingle time, so there'll be more stuff at the site at your house that we can go through everything and give people that time to interact.
The kids have such a blast there. I don't know if you interacted with parents this way, but they're like, dude, my kids' feet have never been dirty in their life. You know what I mean? I'm like, what?
I heard the same thing.
Dude, these kids, we had this bounce house set up last year, axe throwing.
Yeah.
And there was one other activity. It was like archery.
Yeah.
Like the kids' archery. Like I think it's some BB guns over there. And something else was over
we had
there.
some art stuff and craft tables, some DIY
Dude,
stuff.
they were in that bounce house on Saturday for like 6 hours straight, like 15 kids, dude. My daughter just like came in and just face planted on the sofa. She was out, dude. And it's great because like the parents, sometimes they're hesitant to bring the kids to events like
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
like we welcome the kids. Like it's really cool because they get to see the community, like which a lot of kids have never really got to see a community like that. I mean, until recent, I wouldn't say that I even understood that community, right? And I probably still don't understand it all. But yeah, man, I'm super pumped. We're doing it last week of February. What are the dates?
Yep, February 26th to March 1st.
To March 1st, and we have a VIP day. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yep, for our VIP day, that'll be the first day. We're setting up a bunch of special things to do for that, grab bags and some different tickets they can get to move through some of the events. We really want to set that up, give them some time, for the big donors, the people who've really gone out for core, helped us out, all those close partners. So we'll bring them in, give them a little extra love, and it gives us time to work together. And then we'll give them their own time slots throughout the weekend so that they can present, and help businesses grow.
Well, the other cool part too, I think, is if you sign up to be to come on the VIP day, I think it sponsors a veteran too, right?
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, which is cool because you'll get to have very two diversified people, because the people that will be coming on that day most likely are donors and high level clients at core that do support us, and then you'll get probably someone cool to be attached at the hip with for that day, which is always great. I mean, I love for me with my business, I have like you and Colton and my boy Dave Cosnati and a couple other guys, and a bit someone that's been in business for a long period of time, and then you have guys that have had millions of dollars of training put into them. Your ways of thinking is a lot different than my way of thinking, and what's been really cool over the past few years is that, like, when I'm stuck on something, I believe there's always a solution, and sometimes it's just the way that we think. And to have such a diversified group of people around me really helps my business grow and helps me with like my thought partners and stuff like definitely. That. Yeah, so that's been a cool ride. So Matt, I want to back up here a little because I want to get a little bit intimate. I won't go too deep because I understand the outline of the job, but I got Matt going on my brother-in-law's podcast here in the next 6 to 8 months, and what we thought was cool, and I did it with Colton yesterday, and he didn't know, is we're going to get a few teasers from this one to put up for that one.
Cool.
So you want to give a little background, as much background as you can prior to the military. I know we've talked about it before, but I'd like to have it, this podcast all based on you, and then I'm going to dig as deep as I feel like I can without getting KO'd here.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, it's always part of the story. It's been pretty cool this last year, transition out of the military, because I really, it's the first time, 44, it's the first time I've taken a second and been like, all right, let's look at your life and see what happened, trying to figure out next steps, a new identity. And it's been tough to reconcile with some of those things, but it's been good to come up front with it. And it's all part of the story. It's how you get to here. And I've realized none of those things that happened, if they hadn't been there, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Exactly. I'm happy where I'm at today.
Yeah, dude.
So I had a pretty good upbringing, loving parents. I never went hungry. I was clothed. I just always had, and my parents even said from like age 3, they identified it, that I always had this insatiable lust for danger, jumping off high things. They built a swing set when I was 3 years old, and they said they walked inside and turned around, and I was scaling the top of it and just jumped off into a pile of leaves like a 10-foot drop at 3. So I don't know, it was always just that drive for something like that, and moved on and started getting older, hit my teenage years, and just did not connect with sports and found it in the wrong ways. It kept on going, and I kept on getting more trouble, and then I ended up spending a year and a half of high school incarcerated in Juvenile Detention Center. It was kiddie jail, but dudes got raped and stabbed in there, so I've just realized, looking back on it, man, I was 14, 15, like the shit that that's trauma, man.
Yeah,
going through that, I never even really thought of it.
Jax's dad was his sophomore year, got in a really bad fight. He got stabbed, and ended up. It was 3 guys that jumped him, and he ended up making them pay pretty much the ultimate price.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's a very savage human. And we were hunting last week, and he was talking to me. This is back in the he's 65, so this is back probably in the early 80s that he was in. And he told me, because he's been in prison too, I think, and because of the way the conversation was going, I didn't ask him because I'm I kind of walk on eggshells around him even after 10 years. And like, you'll walk into a restaurant or like a bar with him, or like watch a game or whatever, and people still in his area see him and they put their head down at the bar, and he's like 70 years old, but he's awesome. He was telling me, he was like, dude, that was like one of the most petrifying things ever, like it was scary, but sorry, yeah.
Yeah, man. So, but I kept going. I did like coloring books for high school credits, and somehow I was able to stay online. So I went through a couple different programs, and they released me on, probation, and I was able to do my senior year at high school.
Nice.
Went great. Sports, great student.
What type of stuff do you feel like you learned from or developed from that time incarcerated?
At the time, it was obviously all negative, and I just felt a lot of shame and anger. That's all I remember.
So you were completely
Shame
gone
and
from your
anger.
parents for a year and a half, incarcerated inside walls, could not leave, structured day, like that was it.
Like I said, I really did have my parents welcome me home. I think they were just in shock and denial.
Now, could you have had visitors, just no one came to visit, or were they very strict?
Yeah, you can have. I was also a violent offender, so I was in like a separate area.
Okay.
Because I went in on violent charges.
Okay.
So it was pretty locked down. I got released to go see a psychiatrist, and I jumped out of the car and took off and was on the run for 2 weeks. So I was also a flight risk, like an escapee.
That probably added a little bit of time, right?
Yeah, it's why I didn't get to go outside, at least. Between fighting and that, I got like 30 minutes outside, and then I had to.
Where do you think the anger came from at such a young age?
Man, I really thought a lot about that.
Because I share the same.
Yeah.
Issues.
It's definitely part of who we are. It's one thing I've really tried to identify in my son. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of dads who really try to groom the violence in their sons, and I'm like, man, we are inherently violent motherfuckers. Like, learning how to control.
Did you talk to him about that?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, making sure you have control of that and only apply it when it's absolutely necessary is a true superpower. Mm-hmm. If you can do that and people can recognize that, it's even more intimidating.
Yeah.
Because they know you're capable at any moment. But yeah, I just didn't have a switch. I think I always had a problem, like a lot of self-doubt, always down on myself, trying to be faster and better than anyone else. And being badder was what seemed a lot easier to achieve, and so I just kind of like stayed on that angle, and I got a pretty bad reputation. It was really hard for my younger sisters at high school.
Yeah, I bet.
I had a couple teachers that made them, as soon as they saw their name, they made them leave the classroom.
Really? Oh, great. It's not my fault, please, But
yeah, coming on now, the things that I learned there through that time of my life has set me up for a lot of my successes. Dealing with life or death situations at that younger age, like that high stress, the threats, learning how to be in like the most uncomfortable situation possible and keeping your shit together. Mm-hmm. It really taught me a lot. Like SEER school wasn't that bad. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, I was actually just gonna say, do you think that you're like going through Q and all that other stuff? Do you think that kind of really helped that whole situation for you? Like,
even more so. So I went through another selection, and I was in my interview, and I had asked some of the guys, because I had friends. I was like, "Hey, dude, I got this shit on my record. I've been honest about it through my security clearances, but I just don't know how, because the thing I was applying for, they look at everything in your life, your entire life." And he's like, "Oh man, they're dudes with murder raps. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Some shit from you're a teenager." So then in the interview, they're like, looking this, all serious-faced, and start reading off all these charges, which includes like second-degree assault on a police officer. And
how many years before was that? Was this after Juvenile?
So yeah, no, we're talking like 20, 30, yeah.
Oh, it's a long...
Decades.
Okay.
This is decades ago.
Yeah.
I have...
So for those of you out there that understand the military, you can probably figure out what type of selection he was going to.
So he's reading this shit off, and he's like, man, what did you even think applying here? Like, why do you think we would accept someone that has shit like this on the record? I'm like, oh, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
And then he starts laughing, and he's like, I'm just kidding, man. This is exactly what we look for. You obviously have problems with authority and propensity for violence, so check. I was like, fuck.
So when you backing up, how did you decide like you went straight to the Army, right?
Yeah. So I got out, man. I did a year. My senior year went well. Started college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do yet. Kind of thought about architecture, but again, my grades, there's no chance of getting into that school. So I was trying to figure out what I could do from that point. Did a year and just didn't have much direction. I started slinging dope again. Wasn't getting in trouble yet, but I could see the trajectory is not going where I wanted to. And I honestly had a dream one night, and an entity was like, dude, just join the military. I think it might have been my uncle. I can't remember the dream exactly, but I really did wake up and I was like, oh, fuck.
You had some family that was in the military?
Yeah. Had a grandfather who's a full-bird colonel, and then his son, my uncle, was Ranger in SF. And he's been one of the closest people. Really looked up to him a lot my whole life. He went through the same battles, alcohol and drug addiction, and military and all the trauma, and he was able to put it all back together, man, and come out. So I always looked up to him because he'd been through hell and he really found peace again.
Yeah, that's huge. So when you went to the recruiter's office, what was that like? Did you know your direction that you were?
I really didn't know. I talked to my uncle, and I was really wanting to go infantry. I was like, I know I'm good at hurting things, so let's just do that. Yeah. And he's like, man, I jumped into Panama. I did all this stuff. He's like, now I fucking kill bugs for a living, bro. He's like, pick a job that like applies in the civilian world.
Okay.
And he's the one that turned me on to medic. He's like, dude, do this because you're gonna have real skills that are applied everywhere, and you still get to be combat arms and be on the front line. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so that's how
right off the bat, you've always been
right a medic. I've been a medic of some kind my entire 25 years.
Okay, so I did not understand until Jared explained to me the difference of, I think he was a whiskey, right?
68 whiskey.
68 whiskey. Last night, he was explaining to me, before you guys came by the house, the difference between the levels of medics in the military. Can you get into that for a second?
Yeah. I mean, I've been around for a while. I actually talked about that too. When I came in, it was a 91 Bravo, which was what is now 68 whiskey.
Okay.
I think a 91 Bravo is now like an air conditioner mechanic or something.
Okay.
But that's how long. But I changed to 68 whiskey. They made that change right before my first deployment in 2004.
Okay.
So you can't come in. Yeah, your regular medic is your 68 whiskey, and they can fulfill a lot of roles. They're trained in pretty much everything. So from working in a hospital, a cash, a combat support hospital, to being a frontline medic. It's pretty diverse. They have a decent education there.
How long is that school?
So I'm not sure down at Sam Houston. It's a few months, but when I did it, it was earlier, and then 68 whiskey was a transition course I had to go through. So I'm not sure what the length of the course is, but I know it's somewhere around there.
Okay.
Probably 60, 90 days.
Okay.
And then I think they do, rotations for hospitals just like the rest of them.
Yep.
You have a lot of like medical tech positions that people can do, like lab techs, and there's some different routes you can go there. But then you go, 68 Whiskey 1 is really the next step. And that's a 68 whiskey who's been to the Special Operations Combat Medic course.
Okay.
So that's from like the standard medic side, like that's what you all want to do. I mean, being an 18 Delta, yes, but getting your Whiskey 1 means like I've gotten the same training as Special Operations medics.
Okay.
But I'm still a standard regular Army medic.
But more sought after.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you on deployments, you're going to get snapped up by SF teams and that type of thing.
Yeah. That's he was explaining that to me. His senior would get picked up, quite often. So you were an infantry medic for how long? Is that?
Yeah, I actually, the first unit I was in was a ground ambulance unit, and that's what I deployed with. But you're not really ground evacuating people in Iraq with millions of IEDs. So they just tasked us out to different line units.
Okay.
So we were with the 10th Mountain for a while. Then I was with the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force. They lost like almost all their corpsmen to combat losses, got killed in action, and so they're like, "Hey, Army, we need some medics." So we worked some with them. Just kind of got moved around, like whoever needed.
Was that your first deployment?
That was my first deployment.
Do you remember the first trauma you treated?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's So we were out at that time. The trip we were doing a lot of convoys, supply support. So they'd pull us out, and just making. It was close to the Jordanian border, so they're making fuel runs. So they'd have convoys of all these fuel trucks, and you'd have local nationals driving them, and then spread throughout the convoy would be military gun trucks to protect it. And the place we were at, something blew up every single time we went out. Didn't always have a casualty, but a bomb went off, a landmine went off, literally every single time we left the gate.
That was the reason for the most deaths during that whole period of time, right? The IUD.
This was 04 and 05, and actually 06 was the deadliest year of Iraq.
Okay.
Yeah, and the IUDs were strong then; it just kept building, and it was just nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about that with you, but I'll finish the story first.
So yeah, we rolled out, and it's a long convoy, and they set off a daisy chain. I think it was 4 that are linked together, so it's just like boom, 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 all along the convoy for maximum damage. So they call us up, and I hop out, and dudes are falling out of vehicles, and a number of people. There was 5 patients in all. I actually had another medic with me, and
as a senior or just equal?
It was very much junior.
Okay.
For that trip, they tasked the strong with the weak, and I got designated as strong, so I had one of the weakest people with me. In fact, that person sat down. The first casualty we ran up to, I started treating. I was like, do this, and moved. That person sat down, started crying, and that's all they did for the rest of the time. Also got an award and a picture on the front page of the paper.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so I'm sprinting up and down. The Americans, there was a broken arm and a bloody nose, like not much.
So do you treat the worst casualty first, or do you treat if it's an American versus a...
Right, dude, it's a question. Every medic's going to tell you something different. I would say it's situational. For this situation, being my first time, I was fixated on the most trauma.
Okay.
And when I have a broken arm and a blown off leg, like I'm going to the blown off leg.
Just so everyone's aware, when you're in country, you're attached to local militias that are fighting with you, correct?
Down in SF, yeah. This is before that time, though.
Okay. So everyone that got hurt was all American at this time.
Other than we had hired truck drivers.
Okay.
So they'd vet Iraqis, like local dudes.
Yep.
And then they could drive. They were the ones actually driving.
Got it.
All the Americans were in military vehicles.
Okay.
At this time, Up Armor was just starting to come in, so we literally had like steel welded on stuff, and we had like flak jackets that we just sat on in the trucks. Yeah. Took a little bit, but
sounds
not
more
much.
like the Marines than the Army.
Yeah, right. I remember a point where we were in fully up armored, brand new vehicles, and I'm looking over those guys, and they're still welded trucks, 20 dudes packed in. I'm like, fuck, man.
Oof.
Yeah, they definitely love their suffering.
Yeah. So when you got to that
all right, yeah. So they're spread out, man, and I started treating the worst casualties, and I never once thought. I remember it didn't cross my mind to consolidate them, like a casualty collection point. One of the basic rules of medicine and combat. You say, everyone get the fuck here so I can control this. Dude, I am sprinting, and it was almost 300 meters, the spread of patients. So I am spending this time sprinting. This dude's running next to me, so we can get the information for the 9 line to call in a medevac. And I'm just yelling over my shoulder, jumping down treating, and just running up and down. And
at this point, you're just mass amount of tourniquets, packing wounds.
Yep, all the life-threatening stuff.
And this is the first time that you've ever engaged and put your training to a test.
Yep, first time. And then I get back, so the broken arm was a young female. It was not serious. She still had blood flow, like the hand wasn't going to go anywhere. So once I had the life-threatening, I splinted it, set it, checked it again, checked her. She was totally fine. Obviously freaked out.
Yeah.
A little shocky, but just all psychological. And so they called it in, and it was on me to medevac, and I sent the most life-threatening guys because there was dudes who were about ready to die. I had one guy whose face got blown apart. I had to start an airway on him. Like I had him stable enough, but he wasn't going to stay that way very long. So I put all those, and the bird filled with those. And that female did not get on the first bird. Another one landed almost right after and she of course went on that one. But later her first sergeant came in and actually tried to fight me in the hospital because I didn't put her on the first bird out.
But was that the right procedure that you had, or should she?
No, it was. I mean, so this is also a time too where the hearts and minds and thing wasn't huge. The rules of engagement were if your hair stands up, go ahead and empty your magazines.
Which is a lot different than the end
Yeah,
of the
my 2010 trip in Afghanistan, you had to be taking rounds in the plate before you could actually start shooting your weapon. At least, anyway.
Yeah, it's insane.
So it was definitely a different time because it wasn't too far after the initial invasion. This is when the Battle of Fallujah happened. Like all that was during this time in Iraq. So people, and still part of their mind was everyone's the enemy. You get put in those situations a lot as a medic. Definitely the moral dilemmas. I think it's one of the things that helped me transition to SF, honestly, because I got faced with those moral dilemmas in combat, like my entire career, and that's pretty much every day in SF. That's what a lot of that work is. You have
after that first engagement and the first time you treated, how many people did you treat?
It was 5 there.
5
It was
guys.
3 local nationals and 2 Americans.
Did they live?
Everyone lived. Everyone lived.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a pretty big boost to the ego.
Yeah, I was stoked, man. It really was cool. Like after it was all said and done, I was frustrated that I gassed myself so much because I could have done more if I would have dragged everyone together. But lesson learned, no one died, man, and I sure as shit had a CCP every time after that.
Yeah. So when after that, pretty much was it pretty nonstop from that first deployment, that first issue, like that first time you treated everybody? Was it pretty consistent on a daily basis? That because you said there was
we did, especially on that one. I know the people got upset because our numbers, they didn't believe the numbers on the casualties that we were treating, that we were passing up, and it was 100% legit. But we were just out in an area, this is Western Al Anbar province. It's where all of the bad cities were. We were in Arupa, Haditha, like all that shit.
How old are you?
And so, 23, 24, yeah, right around there. But yeah, man, we got hit almost every time. Had lots of casualties. But the cool thing I got out of that trip, most definitely, is I realized I found my calling.
Yeah.
Because I saw a couple guys. Even my best friend on the trip. I saw his eyes change one day. We were doing some rough shit. It was a really bad day, and I remember seeing his eyes just.
Just paralyzed or.
Not paralyzed, just to change, kind of go dark or blank. Just seeing the psychological shift, something fucking switched in your head that's gonna be really tough to switch off.
Yeah.
And if a lot of people got out after that trip, I had a tough time when I came home. It was pretty gnarly, and I'd never been through it. But I think from the shit I was through when I was a kid, I really was able to process it. And I was like, I don't have a drug or alcohol problem. I'm not in jail, and I'm seeing all these other dudes go off the deep end. I'm like, maybe I can handle this shit. So I kept trucking with it.
So this is a question I've asked Cody before, and I asked Tyler Gray. What is the overall feeling you have from being in that intense atmosphere for 6 months, 8 months?
This one was 14, actually.
14 fucking months?
Yes, in country for 14 months. This is before they had the limited door-to-door things.
Holy shit.
Dudes were doing an 18 months in country. My first trip was 14 months actually in Iraq.
So when I read, studies show that a deployment past 6 to 8 months, your risk in high combat areas, your risk of death is much higher, not just because you're there more, but because you are so exhausted.
You just burn out.
You burn out. So that's probably why they've changed a lot of that, or
it was the suicide rates. The families falling apart. I mean, families were calling nonstop, hitting up senators, and be like, "You can't do this."
Yeah.
And then you have National Guard units who would have to do a train up. So I know dudes who 24 months they were gone from home for a deployment. So they did 18 months in country, and then all the train up and bullshit you got to do on the front and back end.
For when you come in from the team that's currently there, and then what you're passing off to the next group that comes in.
Doing your rip, and then
Got it.
So they've changed that now where it's 12 months door to door. So however long your train up and train down takes, that's what's left over for in country.
So going back to the explosive stuff, which is wild to me. So originally, they got pretty creative with that stuff, from what I understand.
Oh, most definitely.
Because originally it would be an IUD, and then you guys would add what's it called, a front sweeper to the front of the truck that would go out in front. So if there was
Yeah, just
the
try to
IUD
set
there
off
would
landmines.
would blow up in front. But then they got smart. They put the detonator in the front and the IUD behind it, right? When how many? I mean, was there just explosion after explosion every single day?
I'm really not exaggerating every time us going out. And sometimes you could drive out of it. Like I said, there weren't always casualties, but some shit blew up every
day?
single time.
So did you get to the point in that 14 months to where like a bomb would go off and you would know pretty much what you were going to walk into based on that?
Yeah. If you're not getting called to. And it was creative. They moved stuff around. We tried a lot of shit too. They were flying like C-130 sending out radar signals along the highways to try to set the shit off that are on two-way radios. They had ones that go through the cell phone. We actually did have an airplane sweep through right before us, and we saw an explosion off in the distance. We're like, oh, fuck, set one off. Nice.
Yeah.
It's meant for us.
Yeah.
But we pull up, and as we're driving by, it was two assholes are still in their pickup truck. They were going to plant it for our convoy, but it caught it while it was still in the truck, so it just blew it up with them in the truck. We're like, yeah, fuck you.
That's crazy. Yes. So my first experience understanding what those flybys are like was the movie that we watched.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a home in South Carolina, and they fly those are F-14s, I think, out there.
Yeah, they get 14s there.
And like when they get low and fly by my house, you just like the whole house shakes.
Intense.
Your body's like, oh my gosh. I cannot imagine being the dude like on a dirt road, walking down a dirt road, and one of those things coming like, wow, they get within 50 feet of the ground, or
it's
100 feet or something.
Dangerously low.
Yeah, and everything just must completely rattle in your body.
It is. Bomb going off, your eardrums can blow.
Oh God. So did you have an experience with like an SF medic that was like mind blowing? Is that why you decided to go in that direction, or
yeah, a little bit later down, I really had no idea about any of that stuff back then, and I just kept going. I ended up with a long range surveillance unit and got Ranger qualified. I actually switched to infantry for a while. I still was the medic. Guys still call me doc, even though I was a team leader on infantry.
Okay.
So I was always doing medicine, but I did that so I could achieve that team leader spot with the LURS. And I like that. Deployed with them to Afghanistan, and we did meet a lot of SF and worked with them. So I started seeing what they were doing, and it was like, wow, it's definitely the autonomy they had. I mean, it was great, because a lot of the headaches we had on that trip, we'd like run into an SF team and like, oh no, we're good, dude. We're like, we just tried to do that. They told us to fuck off. They're like, yeah, we're gonna go do it. Damn it.
I want to be with you guys.
So it was you could definitely see the difference. And just the caliber, man. I served with a lot of fantastic dudes, but I always wanted to be the best, man. And so it's always you're trying to achieve more. That's what got me to Ranger school. And then you kind of follow those steps. So like, all right, what's next, man?
Yeah. So did you deploy as a Ranger? Or no, you went from the Ranger school to
I actually had a deployment and did Ranger school right after.
Okay.
And then ended up SF. I don't think I had a deployment between those two. I think I went to selection soon after.
Okay.
Because I went back to college for a while, and I was going down that road to finish up my bachelor's degree. And that was a decision to go to selection, is talking to the wife. I'm like, hey, here's the next step. We finally reached that point. I know that on my deathbed, I will regret not giving this a shot. And she, as always, was 100% supportive. She's like, go fucking get it done.
Oh, that's sick. So, yeah, she's badass.
Yeah, she is.
She's the best. So I didn't understand the dynamic of a Ranger until I spent a couple days with Patrick out at his farm, where we're having dinner, and I was like, so I understand like most of the teams. I talked to Rocco a little bit, talked to a few other guys, and when he started to explain like the breakdown of like a Ranger battalion, I was like, oh, that's a pretty aggressive group of human beings with a lot of firepower. Like they are just meant to just devastate, huh? Like what is, from your point of view, being a beret, being infantry, what is your like overall thought of like a Ranger battalion, like so that the people that are seeing this can kind of understand? Because one of the things that I really like to do in this podcast when I have guys like you is to educate civilians on this type of stuff, because 90% of the people out there, when you say special forces, they think of a Navy SEAL.
Yes, I know.
And
God, do I know?
and I can't tell you how many times people are, Cole's been like, I was in SF, and he's like, and they're like, are you a SEAL? Are you a SEAL? Like, that's what they want to know. And Cole is just like, fuck, dude. And I mean, you can't blame him because, like, they've written 10 million books, and
Exactly.
that's what's out there. But I respect the whole community tremendously. So I think it's important for people to understand the different dynamics of the military, because there's so much that we don't.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of. We kind of take it for granted because we're in. And I need to start off saying I'm not a real Ranger. To be a real Ranger, it has to say it. Your uniform has to say it 3 times, meaning you're Ranger qualified, you're in regiment, and you've deployed with regiment. Okay, so you'll have 3 Ranger tabs literally on your uniform.
But Ranger school, SEALs go to
you can.
Rangers,
you have 4 nationals. You can get Ranger qualified like any. It's a school's skill badge. It's really a leadership school.
Okay.
It is really what Ranger school is, because you are sleep deprived, you're starving for food, and you still have to lead ambushes and stuff like that. And so they're doing all that
while hallucinating.
Right, exactly. But they're doing that to try to simulate combat stress. They can't actually do that. So the next best thing is we're gonna fucking starve you and not let you sleep, and then tell you to go be violent.
Yeah.
And then so it really is a leadership, man, because learn how to dig deep, and you have to get all of them, because everyone's like, fuck, bro, seriously? You're like, yes, let's go. Just like you get to on tough deployments,
Yeah. Well, it probably saves a lot of lives. I mean, because they knew who's qualified to go and who isn't.
Absolutely. It's one of those schools that you got to show your medal to make it through. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of pride in it.
Yeah, of course.
My SF tab, I'm proud of, man. But that Ranger tab was the first time in my military career where I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I really did something. I know this is tough.
Yeah.
That people can't finish, can't do. And I got this shit done. So it felt good. And with my uncle and
I'm sure.
I had my grandfather, the full bird, pin me.
So really?
He's got his World War II hat on, and so
that's
it's a pretty
sick.
dope moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then right from there you went right to Q course, or?
Yeah. Let's see, there was a couple years, because again, I was working, trying to get my bachelor's degree done, plugging through that stuff, and then I started shopping around. I'd been on a deployment and worked with SF and seen that, and that's why I made the decision I want to try to do it.
Seems like that's pretty common.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's like, kind of hanging out with a cool kid from school, like, for the first time.
Well, yeah, you can imagine you're coming from a rigorous military. I mean, we're nothing like the Marine Corps, but the Army still has a bunch of silly-ass uniform, and so you're all shaven in the middle of combat and all that bullshit, and then you see some guy walk up with a full beard and civilian shoes on, doing whatever the fuck he wants. He's still got his weapons hot, and some sergeant major's like, what are you doing? He's like, fuck you. You're like, oh my God. You could do that? Dude, where do I sign up?
Exactly. Yeah, so I've talked to people that went through Q course up to 15 or 18 years ago, all the way until now. I know a lot's changed. When I was speaking to Dave about it and Mike Beluha, they were kind of explaining what Q was like then, right? And then I've spoken to guys like now what Q's like, and like a lot has changed. What was it like when you went through?
Yeah, these were a lot of those changes were after me, and I see what they're doing. There's budgets to look at, there's numbers to look at. The hard part we've always had, and what we saw is, like, even if you look on the U.S. Army Special Forces webpage, it'll say we do not mass produce. We're focused on excellence, but again, you need numbers. We're hurting, especially now, and so you kind of get it. But they're really designing that just to punch out more guys.
They make things easier in times like that.
Yes.
Okay.
They do, and it's very obvious. And those are times they'll scream the loudest that we're not changing the standards, but you're like, you obviously freaking are,
because you're getting the product.
Because you're trying to get,
because the product is ending up on your team.
Yes, exactly. We're seeing what's coming out of there. The COVID time was the worst because they didn't do Robin Sage, the final Colex you do.
What's that?
It's the last thing you do during the Q course. It's where you actually go out and you can conduct unconventional warfare. So you go to a city, town, where there's a whole resistance force in the woods. They're already set up and role players. This is a real American city. They all know what's going on. That military is conducting an exercise. So you're going in, you jump in, and you're linking up with your partner force and learning to build that relationship, training with them in the woods, then take them on hits, blowing shit up, hitting police stations. It's an absolute blast, man. and I got to fully flex my hood rat shit from my younger days, and
Yeah.
it felt great.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So,
But yeah, so this COVID-19 time, I mean, it's one of them. It really is one of the most important parts of the Q course because you're applying everything you learned, but it's also really putting into practice. Like, can this dude handle these situations? And it's the worst for the officers that go through because we call them COVID officers because they didn't do that shit, and it's very apparent on the SF teams because they just don't fucking get it. The gray area where we thrive in, it is completely foreign to them. So you can tell what guys are getting as they go through the Q course.
wow.
You know, they revamped that. Things I think are getting back on track.
Good.
You know, a lot of the, like SUT, they chopped down almost nothing. It was definitely some things that we were not happy about, but I think they're getting things back on track.
So, just before I get into like the end of this podcast, I want to ask one more question. So, what would you say, like, you kind of touched on it, but like deploying as a whiskey and then deploying as a SF medic at, you know, that school is what, 2 years? A year and a half?
It can be. Some people it's 3 or 4.
Yeah, the recycling company.
So it's brutal. You know, if you're going banging it out, it's just under a year.
Okay.
But that is like without failing anything, getting straight through. But then you have hospital rotations, so it's definitely long. And that is all of medical school, some surgery, dental school, veterinary med, and that's all crammed into that time. So
in 1 year?
I had a bachelor's. You know, I had a science education and all that, and I'm struggling. I'm seeing my infantry buddies who have 0 college. I was like, hell yeah.
Wow, that's
Jordan Jones, man. He's one of those guys. He's just a smart dude. I was like, how are you keeping up with this shit? I'm struggling, dude, and I got a fucking degree.
So you went to Q with Jordan? Or?
Yeah.
Oh,
we did the medic course together and everything. Yeah, that's where we got to meet too.
And did you meet Colton there too?
And we met Colton. Yeah, Colton and I had our Spanish, our language class together. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And that's what's cool about SF because those guys
they have to separate you
that
guys?
you train up with, they should have. Yeah, she loved him, not me.
Yeah,
Go figure, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that going around. I'm kind of used to that now, hanging out with Colton. Even my wife likes him more.
But yeah, man, that's what's cool, and they do that purposefully. Like the guys I train up with, you build those bonds during the Q course, then you end up on the teams with them. You end up seeing them overseas, so you're friends for freaking life. I mean, it's a pretty cool system, and it's done intentionally.
So, your first deployment as an SF medic was that intense too, or was it?
I had, my Africa trip was by far my funnest. I mean, I got to do, in one day, I did like 6 surgical procedures. I had a blast as a medic there. I got to make a bunch of cool relationships. It was actually my favorite deployment.
Yeah.
It really was cool. So, and getting to know that's the difference, right? On that first deployment in 04, I had a flight doc show me on a toilet paper roll how to do a crike. That wasn't part of your training. Literally, it was like toilet paper roll, it's all we had. He's like, all right, man, if you encounter this and you got to do a surgical airway, here's the landmarks. And sure as shit, that happened to me. Dude took a round through the neck and fingers in his neck to stop the bleeding. And it blended everything up. I tried to tube him, nothing would go through, so I knew I had to crike him. And I'm like, fuck, like toilet paper roll. I'm like, sorry, we can do this. And I just cut a lot of the skin so we could peel it open so I could see what I was doing. Found the site, got it in, and he immediately started getting better.
Wow.
We packed him up, we got him in fluids. He was fucked up. And I'm coming, he's spitting out his mouth, it's coming out his neck. So I'm like Carrie style, covered in blood, head to toe, just drenched. But we got him live. It was sloppy, but we got him live.
Yeah.
I actually had the surgical doc come out and yell at me while I'm hosing blood off me at the water buffalo. Who did that crike? Comes out and starts berating me for cutting too much.
Yeah.
This dude got shot through the neck. Like, it's all scars.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's yelling at me for cutting like 2 inches much on the crike. And Monty's boys were standing by me and almost beat this dude up. I didn't even say shit. They're like, fuck you, Matt, saved his life. It was pretty rad, man.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I'm covered in blood. Like, obviously been through some trauma, dude. What the hell?
Yeah.
It was, he felt immediately regretted his decision.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, especially when he was still breathing.
But then moving forward to the training I had as SF, I'd been a medic for a while, so I'd built a lot of confidence. But then it's like, dude, fuck yeah, it's just autopilot, doing surgical procedures, chest tubes. And the fact, like, getting to do a chest tube live in the field, it's freaking awesome. Like, I tell civilian physician friends that, and they're like, what? That's the coolest shit I ever heard. I'm like, oh yeah, dude. Our scope of practice is like,
there's no clean room here. Like, we don't need to scrub up, Yeah, that's wild. Well, so coming back to the foundation this year, what do you think that you're the most excited about that we got going on?
Well, it's really grown, man. I mean, you know, we're hitting 3 years. It's done way more work than most foundations do in their first few. And 3 years is really, you know, when you start getting grants and people start being like, all right, you got a real thing. Let's do this. So I'm really looking forward. We've obviously made a lot of good plans. We've been pushing for a lot of funds and donors. And so its growth and coming through is going to be exponential.
Yeah.
I built out a lot of packets for the patients we work with. You know, the guys are happy. I'm getting extra love. You know, I'll send out like a sleep hygiene stuff, and so I've really been working one-on-one.
Good.
Got a couple dudes. I had a dude that just called me. He's checking himself in a detox, and right before he checked in, man, I'm the person he called, not his family or anyone else, and I was honored by that.
Yeah, yeah.
Checking with me, I'm like, you know, gave him some motivational speak, and I was like, yeah, brother, you got this. You know, hit me up when you're done.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing about this the dynamic of trying to get people off, you know, their Mr. T starter kit from the VA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, what people don't understand is that, like, if you're on high levels of Xanax, which is the most dangerous drug to detox off of, other than, like, alcohol, you can die from it. And, like, a lot of Percocets, this, that, and the other, like, our NPs and PAs have to be, and doctors have to be super careful, because it's like, well, these guys really just had really low T, and that's why they're really screwed up. I mean, that's the bottom line. Not all of them, but it's not a silver bullet for everybody. But the reality of it is that, like, you know, you have to play this balancing act of, like, talking the patient into transitioning off of these high levels of narcotics. And, you know, we've had so many call in and be like, something's really wrong. I just stopped taking my meds. And it's like, dude, you're going to have to go spend 7 days somewhere to get off that shit. Like, if you really want to see if this stuff's going to be your solution, the other stuff needs to go away. And, you know, we get a lot of phone calls like that, dude. And it's amazing, because they had no idea the power of balanced hormones. They just thought, I have to take this to wake up, this to go to sleep, you know, this for my pain. It's just, it's rough. And you know, some of the stories that I've heard, and you know, you've seen, you know, don't always end so well. And it's hard. And I mean, that's why, you know, we were talking on my podcast yesterday with Nick, and, you know, you understand medicine very well. Think about how many people have died due to the black box warning label on testosterone. And think about the stigma TRT had 10, 12 years ago versus what it is now. And, you know, they did this study with the females. What was the study that they did? You said, I think you were telling me?
Yeah, it was 24. VA does an annual report on suicide, you know, suicidality across the military and different trends that occurred throughout the year. And their 24 study, they did one specifically on women, and they checked ones who were on hormone therapy and ones who weren't. I can't remember the exact age range, but they found that the women who were receiving hormone therapy had a 54% reduction in suicide rates, and the ones who weren't on it had an 88% increase.
What?
So
I was way off on my numbers yesterday.
and I found, though,
We've done
a lot of the work we've done. I've been doing a lot of research. There really is a number of scientific journals out there that show, like, no, 100%. And it's a no-brainer, but it was great to find so much actual scientific research.
That's what it comes down to.
Low fucked up hormones causes depression and suicidality. I mean, there's countless studies on it. So
my second month in business, Cleveland Clinic came up with a study that testosterone kills you. Like, it will give you a stroke and a heart attack.
Right.
The same Cleveland Clinic 3 years ago said your muscles and organs are, I mean, your heart's a muscle. It's very important. It doesn't atrophy. Testosterone at a low dose is very good for you. And it took another 8 years or 6 years from that, you know, all these white papers coming out, all this information coming out, for them to take that, you know, freaking, oh my God, you're going to die off the side of this box, to making it go away. And it's wild now. Now every Tom, Dick, and Harry's prescribing it, right? And, you know, some of the important things, you know, that we always talk about is, you know, are you getting the right treatment, right? Not just a bottle of testosterone.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that doesn't help anything, right?
No, and a lot of times that's all it is. And that's what it is. Too low and too high is dangerous. And that's why I talk to guys when they first come on. I'm like, you're not doing bodybuilding. Like, we're finding a number that's just high enough so your symptoms go away, man. We want to just get you back to baseline and feeling good.
And be able to take it for a long period of time.
Right,
you
right,
know,
exactly.
The people that are abusing, the people, what really sucks is that the people that are being prescribed improperly get deterred from TRT because they either get estrogen dominance and feel like it's roid rage or all that other stuff. And like really what has opened my eyes to it is really treating veterans. I say it all the time, if I could just treat veterans, it'd be amazing. I mean, we love all of our patients, but the amount of impact that a lot of these guys get is so much more vast than what a civilian gets because of, you know, I mean, those burn pits were not healthy for you guys. Like, you know, and it just really, I think it's because of the amount of overall trauma that a lot of military guys have. It's like the entire horse and buggy, you know what I mean? Yeah. And versus like one or two symptoms, most of the guys coming through, especially from your direct community, have a lot going on, and they take a shot of testosterone. 3 or 4 weeks goes by. Most of them have abused testosterone before, so they really don't even know what real TRT feels like. And they're like, oh my God, like, I feel like I'm 18 again. Like, it's crazy and how quick it is. But, man.
And that's what it was too. And that's really one of the ways I explain it to guys. I'm like, you get to the point where all of your physiological systems are fucked up at this point. Like, because one after the other, they just start getting cashed out in this work. The easiest one to get back on track is your sex hormones. That's why the TRT, man. And once you get one of those in line, the other ones can start falling in. That's why you're feeling so much better, because everything else, and that's why we push TRT and treating those guys, because it's the easy button. All you got to do is do it, manage it properly, make sure your estrogen is balanced, and everything else is going to start coming into order.
It's so crazy. I'm to the point now, because we've done this so many times, that like I can legitimately sit down and speak. I just did it at the gala. Sitting down with this guy at the gala who came up to me after I spoke for a second, and he's sitting there talking, like, have you ever had your hormones tested? And he's like, no. And I was like, you're getting them done on Monday. And he went right in, got them done. And dude, he just called me when I was in Ohio after that. And he's like, dude, I'm on my 3rd shot or my 2nd shot. What the hell? Why didn't they just give me this? So he also is checking into detox to get off freaking 80 milligrams of, pills a day and all this other crazy stuff, which seems like it's par for the course. It's a double-edged sword for us. It's really difficult, but we're making progress.
Yep. Heck yeah.
Well, man, thanks so much for coming in. This was a great week that we had, and I appreciate you coming on. This was a fantastic podcast, and you guys are going to see a lot more of Matt over here. So thanks so much, guys. Thank you.